What's going on, people? Welcome back to another John Sinclair TV for yet another up-close show. And I've got Carl for 100% Mags with me. Carl, big up to you, mate.
Hi, John, mate. Welcome. Cheers for having us back on your channel again. It's been a while since I've been on, and it's been fantastic at the moment for us Newcastle United fans. It really has. I can't wait for this season to start.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And you know what it is, right? I mean, we should be buzzing. It should be buzzing over the season, man. But we have to see what happens at before the new season. So, guys who like the video, like what you watch, make sure you drop a like, hit the subscribe button as well, please, and make sure you become a member for just 99p, and you can win £50 worth of e-vouchers for Newcastle Club Shop, and you can spend 50 quid or £50. So let's get on with it. So the first question I'll ask you, Carl, is to get you started, ask you some questions how you become a journey YouTuber, a fan yourself, and what's going on this season, etc. But the first question I'm going to ask you, Carl, is where you brought up and where do you first fall in love with Newcastle United?
That's quite an easy question. I was born in Gateshead. I grew up in the teams until about 93. Then we moved down to where I live now, which is in Dunstan. Quite a few people obviously know it. It's quite a popular area. Birthplace of Gascoigne, birthplace of Brian Johnson of AC/DC as well, which is quite a achievement to know that, you know, both of them guys grew up there, especially since both of them guys are massive idols of mine, you know. So it's one of them things where it's always been Newcastle. You know, my dad supported Newcastle, my dad's side of the family supported Newcastle, my mum's side of the family were Newcastle fans as well. And of course, my brother supports Newcastle, so it was always going to be Newcastle for me. Growing up, you know, looking at the way Newcastle played as well, it was the entertainers period when I was growing up, being that I was born in 1990, you know, 33 years old now. So obviously that was always going to be Newcastle United for me. There was nobody else that I would go and support. And you know, that's always been the passion of Newcastle as well, that drives you to support Newcastle. Of course, we'll get into that, I'm sure, further down the line on the questioning. But I grew up in Gateshead, was born in the teams, and then, of course, living down in Dunstan. So that's you answer that question, John, mate.
Cool stuff. That's fine. Cool beans. Cool beans. And the next question is, when and why did you start your YouTube journey?
I started my YouTube journey a long time before I actually started this channel. I actually started the channel back in about 2007, 2008. It was just a normal channel. I was just throwing up some game clips and stuff of games that I was playing around the time. And then, of course, we got on a little bit. That didn't work out as well for us. Then, of course, I've got to about 2017 when I was 27, and I was looking at Newcastle, you know, I was watching the matches a lot, and I thought I want my voice to be heard. I want, you know, my thoughts on Newcastle United to be heard from fellow fans in the fan base, you know, and let them know what I feel about what was going on at the club. And that was one of the reasons why I started my channel, was to get my thoughts out on what was happening at the club at the time. And of course, you know, just looking at the whole landscape of it, it's been a fantastic journey so far as a YouTuber. You know, there's been a lot of lows in it, but there's also been highs as well. And like I say, I started back in 2017, 12th of May 2017 to be exact on the date for that one. But it's been a crazy journey. It really has. And that's basically it, really. That is, you know, when I created my channel, when 100% Mags was born. But did start as a Mags HD, and then, of course, turned to 100% Mags. So it has went under a little bit of a rebrand over the time, but it is now, it's what I am happy with as a content creator.
Cool stuff. Cool beans. Cool beans. Let's go on to your next question. Is we've all had dark years following our club. What kept you personally supporting Newcastle?
Like I just said, on the first question, it's the passion of Newcastle. I've always been a Newcastle United fan from the day I was born, and I always will be Newcastle United fan. There's nothing that will stop us from supporting Newcastle United, and that is what kept us going, as a Newcastle fan through them dark times at the club. Knowing that there would be a silver lining at the end of it, that Newcastle would return to what we were, during the Keegan Entertainer era, during the Bobby era as well, fantastic times for Newcastle United. And I knew that we would return to that. And I was always passionate about it. I was always there, vocal, saying what I felt about, of course, what was going on. And I knew for a fact that, we would return to the great times. I didn't think it would be, as it is right now, where, with the richest team in the world. I didn't think it would be as good as this, but, I'm not going to say no to something as fantastic as this. Who doesn't dream of having a mega wealth owner, coming in and buying your club? But that is what kept me, going as a Newcastle United fan through the dark times, the passion of the fan base, the fact that, Newcastle, even though we were being held down by, the previous ownership, that there was always still that spark there that you could see, with the right guidance, with the right ownership there, that Newcastle United would be back and Newcastle could be, back to the best again. So that's the answer to that one, John.
Thank you very much indeed, Cal. Thank you. I think I comment as well. I have to ask you, have you had any dark years as a Newcastle, as a YouTuber? If so, how did you move on from any negativity to then go on to grow your amazing channel?
Obviously, of course, everybody has dark days as a content creator. It comes part and parcel with it, to be honest. That's something that I didn't quite expect when I first started up. I knew that there would be people that wasn't going to like the content. Not everybody is going to be fans of what you're putting out. There's going to be haters, and that is part and parcel, like I say, of being, a content creator or just anything in life, to be honest. There's always going to be somebody there that wants to bring you down. And at the beginning, there was quite a lot of that. Even now, there's still quite a lot of that going on, people making negative comments in the comments section, but I just tried to ignore them. In the beginning, when they started it, it did annoy us a little bit, and I did reply back to them. But now I tend to just, block out the noise, continue making the content, because there's no point in being negative, and like focusing on these negative comments and these people that are just coming on basically to troll and give themselves a spotlight on them. Now, obviously, on my channel, I have, on many occasions when somebody's done that, I have brought it up and I've put it on the channel and I've put a spotlight straight on it. That is purely down to the fact that, to show what hatred is out there, to show that it isn't all positive being a content creator, because, for people that want to follow in the same footsteps as you and I, that they need to know that it's not all, glitz and glamour, if you will. There is dark moments where people are saying some pretty nasty stuff about you. They're telling you to do some pretty nasty stuff as well, but you've just got to kind of ignore that and, do the content that you love and put out the content for people, that are willing to support you on making YouTube videos and whatever you want to do in life as well.
Well said, well said. And the thing is, like, there's still negativities as well, like on social media as well. Even after the takeover, in fact, some places just getting worse, in my opinion. I'll just block and all them. Be honest with yourself. That's fine. They pay poorly. Be honest about it. That's fine. But don't go OTT, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So, and on a more positive note, what are the highlights of your experience as a YouTuber, YouTube creator? I'll put you on the spot there, Mr. T.
Yeah, I'll put us on the spot there. There's quite a few really good highlight moments of being a content creator. Obviously, Newcastle United takeover being one of the best ones. You know, as a NUFC creator, that is just something that is brilliant because it, of course, allows for us to get a bit more attention towards the channels, a bit more eyes on the content that we're pushing out, which is content creators. That's great for us because it allows us to be able to grow the channels a bit more. And of course, speaking like we did before, you know, wanting to be full-time YouTuber, that is a massive thing for. We'll look at what Adam Pearson's doing with his channel. You know, that wouldn't have been possible with the way the club was being run before these owners came in. So that's a massive highlight, of course, as a YouTube creator, and a massive highlight in the experience of being a YouTuber. Another highlight moment, of course, would be, you know, hitting 1,000 views on my first video that I got 1,000 views on. You know, that was a big moment to be able to hit that kind of milestone. It seems like it's impossible when you first start your channel up. You've got 0 subscribers. And you're only getting about maybe 100 to 200 views on a video. You know, then the next minute, you know, you're putting up a video and it's getting 1,000 views. So that is a big moment for me. That was a massive moment to show, you know, that there was people out there that did want to see me content, that did appreciate what I was putting out as well. And then, of course, hitting 1K subscribers with the channel as well. Another big, massive milestone, you know, moving forward with the channel, because again, you know, that shows that people out there do appreciate what you're doing. They are, you know, enjoying what you're doing as well. So, you know, that's just like a massive moment for me moving forward.
Yeah, that's a good answer from Cole, because what it is, right, there are some cracking YouTubers out there. I mean, for me, Adam P, Tyneside Life, Newcastle Fans TV as well, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
the Magpie channel, main hitters.
Very competitive.
Exactly. And Paul TV as well. And yeah, all out there as well. Right, then, that's the end of part 1. Part 2 now is quick fire rounds of questions. And quite a few of them, but we get through them as much as we can, and we've got to get through them fast. The first question for you, Cole, is your best moments as a Newcastle fan.
That would be Newcastle taking on Juventus in the Champions League. Andy Griffin scoring the only goal in the game. That was one of the first games that I attended, alongside 1860 Munich, which was also in Europe. And it was just a fantastic moment, the game against Juve. It just was one of them nights where you just had to be there. And I was so glad that, you know, me and my family were there. We were able to witness that. We're seeing some fantastic talent running around on the pitch. You know, we're seeing Shearer, we're seeing Speed, we're seeing Edgar Davids, we're seeing Alexandre Del Piero. You know, we're seeing so many fantastic players. And that was a massive, massive moment for me. My brother wrote an article to win a competition, which actually ended up getting shown in the Discovery Museum a few years back in a exhibition called Toon Memories. It ended up getting shown in there. So that's a massive moment to be able to see, you know, that so many people who have visited the Discovery Museum was able to actually see, you know, the article that my brother wrote. And it just completely, you know, stabilized us as a fan base. You know, it showed exactly what Newcastle United is. You know, that night against Juventus, it just showed what European nights is all about and what Newcastle's all about as well. You know, so that was a massive moment for me as a Newcastle United fan.
Yeah, that was so key, because the fact is, right, we needed to win the last 3 games to get through to the next stage of the Champions League. I can remember that very well. He's got a lovely goal, Andy Griffin.
Yeah.
He really did. And you know what? We held on. I can remember Chris Waddle was on Sky that day, commented, and he said Newcastle's won that game. And I was 1 down, 2 to go. And you know what? we got through the next stage, and here and where we go. Like for bits of a man said, here we go. Your best moment as a YouTuber. I mean, that's your next one. I'll say your best moment. Your best moment as a YouTuber.
Ooh, best moment as a YouTuber. Probably the NUFC takeover. That would be the best moment. I mean, seeing, Newcastle United being taken over by the richest owners in the world is just absolutely crazy. I remember, what I was doing that day. I was sitting in the living room, in my house, and we were sitting around the TV, we were watching it on Sky Sports on bated breath, waiting for that announcement to say, that they had taken over the club. And I remember it so vividly because it was just an absolutely emotional moment that we finally, got rid of a horrible owner that was literally a cancer on this club. And now, seeing that is gone, and seeing that we've now got these owners is just absolutely amazing. So best moment as a YouTuber, definitely the NUFC takeover.
Yes.
For me.
That is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. They know what it is, right? I mean, I was in Cardiff that day and I was doing deliveries and I celebrated. And I said to them, we got a takeover. I had to hug someone. People congratulated us as well. Shook us by the hand, bless them. They were mostly Cardiff fans, Liverpool fans, United fans, yeah? And I just so made, absolutely so made. But it is what it is. But we got it. The rest is history. Let's go on to the next one. Favorite player, your favorite player, past and present.
Oh, this is a tough one because there's plenty of players in the past that you could choose from. I'd say Alan Shearer, but I think it's an obvious choice as a Newcastle United fan. Most people would go for Alan Shearer.
Yeah.
So for me, I would probably say Gary Speed. What Gary Speed did for Newcastle United, during his time at the club was absolutely fantastic. He was a leader on and off the pitch. And, he just absolutely epitomised what Newcastle United means, the passion of the club. And, of course, the fan base. He really took to the fan base as well. Us took to Gary Speed so well as well. And the guy just absolutely oozed professionalism on and off the pitch. He was just a complete and utter professional. There wasn't a thing that Gary Speed did where he was in, the news or anything, and he was getting in trouble for anything. He was just absolutely perfect. And that's what you want to see, when you look to footballers or any person, that is in the spotlight. You want to look to them and be able to say, that person is somebody that you should be looking up to because they know what they're doing. They're not, going out there and making a fool of themselves. They're going out there, and they're showing exactly how you should be as a person. Be kind to people, be professional in your work, and go about it in the right manner. Don't go, and be a fool and make the club look bad, like we've seen with plenty of players in the past that they've done. They've went out there and they've made the club look bad. They've really made a fool of themselves as well. But for me, Gary Speed, for the player of the past, is my favourite player. For player of present, I would say right now it's between Kieran Trippier and Bruno. I think Kieran Trippier probably edges it a bit in the fact of his leadership behind the scenes at the club, and also when he's out there on the pitch, you can see the hard work and the dedication that goes into his game. He doesn't give up. He pushes every ounce into the team. Just look at the way, he followed the team around when he was injured, when he first came in. He was traveling with the team on crutches, and he didn't need to do that, but, it shows that the character of him as a player to, continue to do that, even though he is injured, because you wouldn't say that with many other players. So for present player, Kieran Trippier's my favourite. For the past, it would be Gary Speed.
Cool stuff. I think you're going to say the same player as well. I mean, you're going to say Kieran Trippier again. Your best signing since takeover. Since takeover, he's been your best sign, and I know you're going to see it. You've just mentioned him, right?
Kieran Trippier. Definitely, for all them reasons I just stated.
Fair enough. We go swiftly on to number 5. Which player that we've been linked with, but we didn't sign, would have been liked to have seen us in James's Park? And there's been quite a few.
There's been quite a few of them, to be honest. I think one of the players that I would have loved to see play for Newcastle would be Maddison. He just seemed the perfect fit for Newcastle. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be because he chose, to go to Spurs instead of Newcastle. That's his loss at the end of the day. Like we've said, and like the owners have said so many times, we're not going to be any lapdogs for people. We're here to progress as a club. We're not here to, sit back and be used as a stepping stone for a player. That's happened in the past, and that's not going to happen again, not under this ownership, hopefully. And of course, for me, Maddison would have been a fantastic signing, but it is what it is. These things happen, but we've seen some fantastic players come in this window so far, which of course we'll talk about a little bit further on, of course.
Sure.
So I'm not really that bothered, to be honest. That Maddison hasn't come, but it would have been nice, to see him play in a black and white shirt as well.
Yeah, I think look, at the end of the day, I mean, it's the fans' choice. The owners inquired about it, but I don't think he made an offer for it at all whatsoever. So I think the fans need to really start getting tapped and saying, look, we should have got him, we should have got that. No, honestly, at the end of the day, right, we inquired, do make an offer. That is it. Simple as that. You know what I mean? So I think our fan base needs to chill just a little bit.
If the player doesn't want to come, the player doesn't want to come. Simple as. No point forcing it.
Nah, they move, we move. Simple as that. And let's go on to the next one. Let's have a look at this one. What do you think sets us apart from the other clubs in the way we do business in the transfer window?
I just touched on it there.
Yes, you did.
The players don't want to come, then Newcastle United, won't go after them. We won't force them, because at the end of the day, what's the point? If the player doesn't want to come at the first sign of going in for them, then that means that they don't want to be here. And we don't want players like that. We want players that we've got right now, like Trippier, like Bruno, like Sven Botman, like Dan Burn, like Isak, players that are willing to come here. They're hungry for success, and they want to, show us Newcastle United fans, what football can be after what we've had to go through these past 14 years. They want to show exactly what is, a fantastic game and how you play it the right way. And that is what they're doing. They're doing that right now. So for me, at the end of the day, that's what sets Newcastle apart in the transfer windows. From other clubs. We don't, go after players that don't want to be here. And of course, we've got a fantastic director of football in Dan Ashworth, who knows exactly what he's doing. He's the guy responsible for the DNA of England, and the man responsible for the England unders just recently winning, the trophy. So without Dan Ashworth, English football right now for international level wouldn't be what it is. Without a guy like that, building up the foundations for this game.
Yeah, good answer. Good answer. I have to ask you this question as well, as along the owners as well. Do you think the owners have massively ramped up the expectation, or are we still approaching in the rebuilding slowly? As you touched on it again, we need to rebuild slowly. What's Carl's take?
Yeah, I agree. I think we have ramped up a little bit more than we would have done with the way, this window's went. You can see that there is a bit more intent there to get things done a little bit faster. Looking at some of the signings, of course, which we've brought in, is just absolutely crazy when you think about it, from where we were to where we are now. I know a lot of people keep getting a little bit upset about that, when we keep dwelling on the past of where we were to where we are now. But that's what you've got to think about, you know, as a fan, because there's a lot of fans, like you touched on yourself, John. You know, there's a lot of fans out there that are pretty negative towards the way the team is being run these days. But what they need to realize is, you know, what we were under the previous ownership. You know, you've got to always keep that in your mind, because that is what keeps us grounded. Because without it, we'll become, you know, just like Arsenal, just like Liverpool, just like Man City, just like Leicester, just like, you know, Chelsea, even Mania. You know, we'll become like them teams, and that is not what we want to become. You know, we want to be what we are now. We want to be Newcastle United. We are our own identity. That's what makes us so, you know, amazing to watch. That's what makes our fan base amazing as well, because we, you know what we are capable of, and we know that, you know, we're not there yet, but we will be there in the time, you know, ahead. There is going to be a time where we will be at the tippy top of world football, and that's where the owners want to be. But like Madagasi said, when, you know, the first came in, that it would take time, that, you know, patience is a virtue, was the words that he said. And everybody knows, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. It is going to take time as a club, you know, to get out of what we were in, because it was a really toxic relationship, if you want to put it that way. You know, and we are now on the mend. We're now, you know, going towards a brighter future, a black and white future, if you will, you know, as Newcastle United fans, and of course the club coming together to be united once more.
Yeah, black and white future. The future is bright. Future is black and white. Simple as that. And this question as well is next one is, what do you see us achieving in the coming season? And we think, again, you gotta be patient on this.
Yeah, like I say, it's going to take time, so we don't want to, you know, go out there with expectations that we're going to go and win the league just because of the way we're signing players. You know, that's not what we want to do, because again, that's being entitled, and that's not Newcastle United. That's not our identity. You know, that's not what we are. We're not an entitled fan base. You know, so from my perspective, what I'd be happy with would be Newcastle going in there, you know, this season, improving on what we did last season, you know, getting a little bit further in the cups. Maybe if we can win a cup this time. You know, we got to the League Cup final last season. Unfortunately, we ended up losing out, but that was still a massive achievement, you know, to be able to get to a final for the first time in 24 years. And of course, the first time since 1976 for a League Cup final. So, you know, that is a massive achievement. You know, that's something that you can't sniff your nose at the end of the day. You know, so looking at it, for me, if we can improve on what we did last season, maybe finish a little bit higher in the league, third to second, maybe, if we can, you know, inside the top four would be the aim, in my opinion. And then, of course, you know, doing well in the cups, doing well in the Champions League, see if we can get out of that group stages, you know, and get as far as we can in the Champions League as well, because the further we can get in that shows, you know, how much we've improved going forward. And of course, it benefits us as well, because there's a lot of eyes then on the team. A lot of players are looking at the team and saying, wow, look at what they're doing over there. I want to be part of that.
Well said. Absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. I mean, those answers as well. I can't really add to that as well, because what you said, you covered it as well, my guy. Flipping that on to your channel, what would you like to achieve as a YouTuber on a long-term goal?
A long-term goal is, like we touched on before we come on the stream, you know, to be full-time YouTuber. That would be absolutely amazing, you know, to know that you don't have to go out there and do a 9-to-5 job. That's not being disrespectful to anybody that does 9-to-5 jobs, because I know they're tough, they're hard, and it's a grind, you know, and I appreciate everybody out there that, you know, does that. But for me, that is not a lifestyle that, you know, I can really fit to. I've always wanted to do something a little bit more out there, something a little bit more enjoying, a little bit more adventurous. And for me, YouTube has been that. It's just amazing to know, that you wake up in the morning, you can pop on, your computer, get out your phone, what have you, record a video and talk about the thing that you love, which is Newcastle United. It's always a part of you, no matter where you go in the city. Newcastle is always there. It is pretty obvious, just looking over at the skyline of Newcastle as well. The stadium just towers over the city, and it just makes that you're part of something special, and that is definitely for me, one of the massive moments moving forward.
Yeah,
for being a YouTuber.
Yeah. I tell you, I'd love to be a full-time YouTuber. I'm pushing my goals towards that at some stage, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
I'm 54 next month, Cal, and I don't look 54. And I think to myself, am I too late for that? I don't know.
Nobody's too late, mate. Nobody's too late.
Exactly. I'll just get yourself back then, man. I'll avoid question number 10 because you pretty much covered that as well, because you said what your goal's going to be. We're going straight to the next one. Being a solo content creator, how do you balance your life, your YouTube, and real life community? You just answered that question yourself, so you're going to bypass one as well. I'll go on to the next question. And of course, you need to add being the Toon fan to the mix. The news surrounding the Newcastle doesn't stop. How do you keep it up?
I get a little bit of a help with this one, in the fact that obviously me dad supports Newcastle, my brother supports Newcastle. So whatever I don't say, if I'm busy and I'm doing something else, like recording the videos or what have you, or I go out somewhere, then obviously my dad would say it or my brother would say it, and then they would, tell me, and then I'll do a video on it if I think, it's worthy of doing a video about. So I do get a little bit of help on that side of things, but again, it's always going. That is what is, enjoying about being a NUFC creator. At the end of the day, there's always something going on. Even when there's no football on, there's always something there. There's always a piece of news about Newcastle United. There's always a pundit somewhere that wants to have a say on Newcastle, be it negative or be it positive. There's always a fan out there that wants to say something about the club. So, again, be it positive, negative, so there's always something there to keep you going. But it is tough. It's not easy, and I've said that to quite a few people that have asked, what's it like being a YouTuber? It's not easy. It's tough. It's a grind. But if you're willing to put the dedication in, you're willing to put the work in, then it is something that you will enjoy. If, of course, that is something you want to do, then you will enjoy it. But it's not easy. It's not something, that you can just pretty much casually do. At the end of the day, you've got to be fully dedicated to it and be able to know that you can just put out that content when you need to put it out as well. And there has been times, where life sometimes does get in the way, be it, if you've got a very bad cold or something like that, you just don't feel like coming on to the channel doing videos, but there has been times where I have been not well and I have come on and I have done videos when I haven't felt great, because I owe it to the people that, are following us and supporting us. Because, at the end of the day, if they're willing to take time out of their day to watch my video, be it 11 minutes, 10 minutes, even just 5 minutes long, that's still time out of their life that they're taking to watch my content. So I appreciate that. And, that's something I don't take for granted, because they could easily be doing something else instead of watching me, ramble on about Newcastle United, because it's not for everybody. But at the end of the day, there is people out there and there is an audience for it. So for us guys, it's fantastic that there is somebody out there that is willing to hear, from a fan's perspective instead of from, the likes of Carragher or Neville on Sky Sports. Because let's face it, they don't really talk about Newcastle in the best of light. They usually always have a negative turn on it when they do talk about it. So, that's my point of view on that one.
Yeah, Absolutely fair answer, sort of thing. To be a YouTuber, you just said it there. You have to push it out there. You have to be dedicated. They push it. I've got mods, right? It pushes me to do setup, prepare, getting self in advance. I tell you what, it is not an easy thing. And he thinks, I'm not going to be overwhelmed on it. You got to be calm at it at the end of the day. And you just got to be cool about it. The most thing in life, you got to be cool. And I did a mess up on the thumbnail today, but what I've done, I've changed it very, very quickly, sort of thing, because the guy I had on yesterday, he was fantastic. He really was. But I've done it, and it's all forgotten. So not too many questions left there. And what are your thoughts on the transfer window so far?
Like I touched before, on it, we've had a fantastic window so far. Some of the players that we've brought in, the likes of Sandro Tonali, Harvey Barnes, when he finally gets announced, which he isn't announced yet, but it would be a fantastic signing when he does get announced. Of course, he is a Newcastle United player already. But the way this window has went, it's went a lot more, quicker than the other windows. The way the other windows went, they were a little bit slower. And of course, that was always going to be the case. That was going to be a little bit slower because we need to pick the right players. We don't want to be going out there and wasting money on somebody that's going to be terrible for us, because we don't have enough FFP to be able to do that. And we've seen that this window, by having to get rid of the likes of Maxi to Saudi Arabia. That was purely down to the fact that we needed that FFP leg room to be able to help with bringing in a few more players.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of people, that are very disappointed about the Maxi one. I can see why at the end of the day, but you need to look at it from a wider scope of things. Like most things, there's always a bigger picture, and the bigger picture is that we get more FFP room. That is a massive thing forward. That allows us to bring in some more players. If we can get rid of Maxi, and then we can bring in, 3 to 4 maybe more players, in this window, that's 3 to 4 more legs for just Maxi. That is a big thing. And especially when you look at them 3 to 4 more legs that are coming in, they can be to maybe the level of Maxi, maybe, to the level of the likes of a Miggy in the team, and look at what Miggy did last season. So this window so far has been fantastic, but there's still plenty of time left, obviously, because it doesn't close, I think, until the 1st of September, is it?
Yeah, 1st September.
Yeah, so there's plenty of time left to be able to bring in even more players, so that in itself, is massive when you consider who we're being linked to, all the talks of different players as well. If we can get Federico Chais this window, that would be another massive player that I would love to see come away, because he is absolutely fantastic. But don't be disheartened, if you don't see a certain amount of players coming in the window, or players that you wanted to see come in the window, because remember, there's always January, and if not that, then there's next summer. Because look at some of the players that we're bringing in. We've been linked to Harvey Barnes in previous windows. We're now, on the verge of bringing him into the club once the club announce it. We've looked at the likes of Sven Botman. We did, in previous windows. We ended up bringing them in. We looked at other players, and we ended up bringing them in. So don't get disheartened if the player doesn't come in this window, because the more than likely will, as long as Newcastle United still have an interest in them, coming in the next windows. But for this window, it's been absolutely fantastic so far.
Good, sir. Did you just mention Chiesa?
Chase, yeah.
Chiesa, Chiesa, Federico Chiesa. And that's your dream signing, yeah?
Yeah, that would be one of the players that I would love to see join Newcastle. He's fantastic.
That's going to be the very next question. And you just answered it, Cal.
Always thinking 2 steps ahead.
I tell you what, I feel good at that list, didn't I? So you go 1 step ahead. I'll tell you what, you have to answer one question. You answer the question for the next one. I just go straight to the other question. But yeah, there's been rumours sort of thing that he'd rather play for Liverpool and he doesn't want to come to Newcastle. But look, at the end of the day, if that's his words, we don't know what people's been saying. then I'm going to come to that question in a minute, but we'll go straight on to the next one. Will you be able to watch the Premier League Summer Series in the USA?
I will be watching that night in the house. I'll be watching it in the living room with me brother and me dad. We'll be watching that with the Newcastle home shirts on. We'll be, of course, enjoying that. It's going to be an interesting one. Watching, of course, a match at that time of night in the UK. It's a bit of a crazy one. Of course, American fans won't quite understand that. But, as a, English person, it is a bit of a strange atmosphere, to be watching a match like that at that time of night. I watched the first game last night where, Chelsea were playing, and it was absolutely crazy, just thinking that you're watching a Premier League game, 2 Premier League teams playing at that time of night, it just felt weird, especially, when you used to watching during the day. There is nighttime kickoffs, but not as late as that, so it is going to be an interesting one, and I can't wait for it, to be honest. I can't wait to see what that game's going to be like.
Great stuff. And one final question, because I have a couple of questions for you. Are you going to the Sela Cup?
I would love to, but I don't think it's going to be possible because of course, time reasons and personal life reasons as well. So I'll probably more than likely end up watching it in the house, like I usually end up doing. Again, with me dad and my brother, will be sitting there with the Newcastle tops on watching the game, and that'll be probably the closest we can get to going to it, to be honest. And of course, it's always quite difficult these days as well, since the owners have come in, getting the Newcastle games, because there's a point system to be able to go to the games. If you're not a season ticket holder or a membership holder, then you do find it quite hard, to be able to get tickets, because they very rarely go to the general sale. They usually sold out before it even gets there these days, which, I'm not complaining about that at the end of the day, because that is massive. That's what we want, that's what every fan should want, for their club. Selling out tickets, that means that there's always, a passion there. There's always a want to see Newcastle play. And if that want is there, then that means that there is a, chance of growth moving forward for, building the stadium up in the capacity of St. James's Park, which is something that is desperately needed. Let's face it, it is really desperately needed. But definitely be watching them in the house for that one. I can't wait for that as well. That's going to be fantastic.
Cool stuff. For me, you touched on season tickets and memberships as well. I can remember 2 seasons ago, right? You could buy 2 extra tickets as a season ticket holder. Last season, you only buy 1. And now you can't buy 0, so it gives the membership a chance to go to the matches. Do you type of agree with that? And also, do you think for away fans, do you think they should all just go into a draw and scrap the point system, or do you think that should be carrying on?
On the first question, I think it is a good idea what they're doing, with it going, of course, to only being the 1 season ticket, and it being digital as well helps. I'm not too happy for the people who have season tickets, in the fact that, you can only transfer it so many times, and then eventually you can't transfer it, because that doesn't always work out for everybody. But of course, that's something that I'm sure will be sorted. And to be honest, it's not that big of a deal. When you consider that there's very few people that will probably be transferring their season tickets anyway, because they'll want to be at the game. They'll move things around just to be at the game. Nobody wants to miss what's going on. So that's the first one. And what was the second one?
The second one is, do you think for away games, do you think everyone should be in a hat and just have like a automatic draw, or do you think the points should be the same? If you got like 100 points sort of thing, then I think personally, I think you should be able to get first choice. But I heard people saying that they should scrap the point system and just have it all in one hit. I mean, my opinion is I think it should be the same, but I heard people saying that I think everyone should be given an opportunity to go to the away games, but is it ever going to happen? Because I can't see it.
I kind of agree. Everybody should be given a chance to go to the away games. I've never really been a fan of this whole point system to go to games. Yes, it rewards loyalty, because at the end of the day, if you go to the games all the time, you travel up and down the country all the time for the away games, then that does obviously deserve to be rewarded, for the fact that you are doing that, because there's a lot of people out there, that might not do that, and then of course they could end up getting the ticket for an away game and you could end up losing out. Now obviously that doesn't mean that everybody is different. The ones that have the season tickets and can do that, to go to the away games, that doesn't mean that they're special in the fan base compared to other fans. It just means that of course they have a little bit more time on their hands. They can travel to games all the time, whereas some of the other fans who don't have as many loyalty points, don't get the time on their hands to be able to travel to the games. So it is a little bit of a pain. It's always going to be a touchy subject, that one, because it's a bit, between there's always going to be people that don't agree with it and there'll be people that will agree with it. So there's no way around that, really. It's a bit of a grey area, unfortunately. But it would be nice to see them do something, that can actually allow people to get a chance to go if they don't have as many loyalty points. Because I've seen quite a few, of my friends who on social media, they ended up missing out on going to the League Cup game down in Wembley because they didn't have the loyalty points. Now, that's a massive moment. If Newcastle had won the trophy, at Wembley, that would be a massive moment in history that they wouldn't be able to witness firsthand. They'd have to witness it from afar, and that is a big problem. So that's something that I'm sure, the owners will be working on, but I'm sure all of that, will come in time. Now the main focus is about, getting that team on the field performing and getting away in Europe on a regular basis.
Absolutely, Cole. I have to agree with you there. And we have to see what happens. But and one final question I've got to ask you before we close the show. Where do you think we'll finish this season?
I touched on it before, didn't I, John? I think
tell it again for you that haven't seen it.
I think top four will be where Newcastle finish this season. Inside the top four, be that third, fourth, second, who knows, maybe first if we can. That would be an absolutely amazing dream if Newcastle could win the Premier League. But of course, like I say, it'll all come in time. Obviously, we'll get that moment at some point. There's plenty of time for that to come. But for me, top four would be the area where I think we'll finish this season in the league.
Fantastic stuff. Cole, thank you so much for coming on, mate, for the Up Close YouTube Journey show. And it's been a while, but I mean, first of all, did you enjoy coming on the show today?
Yeah, it's been absolutely amazing talking about Newcastle and, of course, letting people know a little bit more about me personally, because I don't, let my personal life really get involved with my YouTube career, so it's nice to let people know a little bit more about us. It, of course, makes us a little bit more approachable for people, that don't know what I do when I'm away from YouTube. So it's been great, and you've been fantastic host once again, John.
Thank you very much indeed. I mean, I came a long way myself so far. I've got over 5,000 subscribers, and a long time ago, I would get 10K minimum. If I could do that, then I could push on with better things, but being pushed on and pushed and pushed, doing more content, do more recorded ones, more new ones, and just really, really go for it, cut down my live streams as well. But if I do that, then I wouldn't be far away. But you know what? I mean, I'm enjoying life as a YouTuber, and it's just absolutely fantastic. And and also as well, where can we find you on your socials? Who can find you?
right there where it says 100 PCT Mags. That's pretty much my social handle on Twitter, Facebook. I believe on Instagram it's at 100% underscore YT on Instagram. And then, of course, I'm over on Threads as well, the new one that's just been put out by Instagram. So you can go check us out on there as well. And I'm on TikTok as well. So I'm pretty much covered on all social media accounts, but I won't go on Snapchat or anything like that. I don't do them ones. I'm not interested in them.
Well, fair enough. Well, on that note, I mean, like I said, Carl, you've been fantastic. You've been a fantastic egg today, and I'm sure people's going to watch you back and think that you're a cool guy. And you know, and I just hope you get more subscribers, and I'll make sure of that as well, because you seem a good, great lad. And don't go away yet. I'll come with you backstage. And guys, thank you so much for watching up close. YouTube journey, and if you do like the video, like you watch, then make sure you drop a like, hit that subscribe button, become a member, and super chats are open if you like to donate what you can. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and until then, is away the mags.